Welcome to another episode of Global Minds podcast, the series highlighting foreign executives and their impact on business in the Czech Republic. Today we are happy to have here Tobias Sonndorfer, the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer at VIG Re. Welcome to podcast, Tobias.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Tobias, you are in your current role, in your current mission from January 2025, which means that we are celebrating like nine months in your current role. So was it fun, 9 months?
Predominantly, yes, I can say. Now, it was really a great journey. You feel that the role is different than anything I did before. But now, after 9 months, I can say it was a great start into the year, a great honor to be in that role. Nothing to complain, really.
That's perfect. But you are actually in the top management of VIG Re in Prague from 2023, so it wasn't such a huge change to become chairman and chief executive officer.
I thought the same, actually.
You thought?
Yeah, exactly. You're right. I've been to the board for about 2 years. I joined the company in 2023 and then was in the board for 2 years. And I expected more a transition type situation, but being the chief executive is something different. It's a different role, and I experienced that. And it took me a while to get settled into the role.
You are working right now in the reinsurance industry, but your career path is quite unique. You started in banking, you've worked in consulting, and now you are in the reinsurance industry. I guess that not everyone knows what reinsurance business means. Could you explain me the reinsurance business in a couple sentences, or is it too difficult to explain it just in a few words or few sentences?
No, I don't think it's that difficult. I can well do that, but I do understand that not everyone does understand or does know the sector, the industry, because it's kind of a niche industry. Mm-hmm. So in easy words, what you can say is that the reinsurer in general is the insurer of the insurer. So what we are doing is we are insuring insurance companies about their biggest exposure, about their biggest risks, their accumulation risks, actually. So that's what we do. We are the insurer of the insurer.
What made you choose this industry? That you saw, okay, this is reinsurer of the reinsurer. It sounds amazing to me, and I'd like to try my career in this industry.
Well, for my specific situation, I think the industry chose me rather than the other way around, because I started not in the reinsurance industry. I started and studied banking, banking and finance back at the time, and I wanted to pursue a career in banking. I started in consulting, but with a very banking-heavy start, so to say. And only after the financial crisis, 2008 and 2009, the Lehman bust, I got in touch with the reinsurance industry, and I joined a reinsurer back at the time, and I got to learn and love the industry, and I stayed until then. So it wasn't very much so a deliberate decision that I say I'd like to go into reinsurance. It caught me, and I learned to love it.
But what makes you passionate about this industry after all these years? Isn't it like not dynamic? Because from my point of view, it looks like it's quite calm industry. Mm-hmm. But I guess it isn't, right?
No, it isn't. It is a fantastic spot to be in, to be honest. And I'd say there is two major drivers to this in the industry. One driver is the people. Our industry is a people-driven industry, which means that in the conversation with our clients and our partners, it's the individuals that sits it across the table. We really deal with humans. And that people aspect is very often a very long-term relationship. So you know the people about a decade or even longer with the people you do business with. So this people aspect is one very strong aspect to the industry. And we used to say within the industry that we are a people business, which in essence we are. So that's the one element to it. The other element is the element of purpose. Because you can imagine that a reinsurer is dealing with almost all the big risk questions societies are faced with. Because at the end of the day, an insurer, and finally a reinsurer, should cope with this risk situation. I give you an example just to make it a little bit more tangible. Think about climate change. Climate change is causing natural catastrophes everyone is more or less exposed to. And we are taking a big portion of that natural catastrophe risk on our books. Another one is digital transformation. With digital transformation, a lot of different risks are upcoming into people's life. Being data which are hacked, I don't know, bank accounts you cannot access anymore. Those are risks with the insurer and finally the reinsurer needs to deal with. So essentially, what we are doing is we're working on the big questions of society and trying to absorb and buffer the negative effects that can occur from these developments. So our oil for the industry is risk, and risk is ever growing.
And basically, it will always be dynamic industry, right?
I would expect so. The industry is quite old and it always has been dynamic.
I've already mentioned that you started in VIG Re in 2023. Before that, you were already in the reinsurance industry in Munich Re, which is like a really large global reinsurer, huge company. And VIG Re is a smaller, more dynamic company that's growing quite fast. What kind of difference or change was it for you to come into smaller but more agile company? Were you ready for it?
I knew VIG before from my time at Munich Re, so it wasn't a completely new start for me from that angle. I knew the company before, but I'd say the things I do observe at VIG Re and we put a heavy emphasis on is that we are fast in the things we're doing. So meaning we have flat hierarchies, we have fast decision making, which we believe is important for us and which is a great advantage we can capitalize on. That is probably something I really see, that we are a fast-moving entity in a way. On the other hand, and we shouldn't forget that, we are called VIG Re and we are part of the Vienna Insurance Group, and VIG as a group is certainly a big insurance company. So we are not a freestyle startup in a sense. We are well embedded into a big insurance organization, but as a reinsurer, we are a dynamic environment and we're trying to explore and display this dynamic nature within the whole organization.
I've mentioned agile approach, or let's say flexibility. So could you give me some kind of example where you can do more flexible decisions or focus on some topic more flexible than you could anywhere else in a bigger, less flexible company?
Well, the term on flexibility, I believe we need to reflect what do we mean by that. So I'll give you a very tangible example. What we did at the beginning of that year is that we launched a cultural change program where we said we would like to update more or less our corporate culture, not change our corporate values, passion, partnership, performance. Those are our corporate values, but we would to enrich them with a corporate culture around that. We call this corporate culture One VIG Re. One VIG Re across the globe, one VIG Re across all our locations, Prague as the headquarter, but we have locations in Munich and in Paris as well. And that's certainly something which we, with the senior leadership team, cohesively decided, but that's something we bring forward. And that's the kind of flexibility I appreciate a lot and we'd really try to display day in, day out.
If I check VIG Re's website, I can see the phrases like that people in VIG Re are challenging old ways, that there is a brave and innovative culture. How difficult is to really create brave and innovative culture that brings the change from point of view? And I mean really, not only as a marketing slogan, but truly live it. How difficult is it from your position of a chairman and CEO?
It is difficult. There's no doubt about it. It's change of behavior is connected with that. Human beings are involved, and that is something I take very serious and I take very careful. As an organization, we want to grow. As an organization, we want to build out our footprint and we want to be a truly mature reinsurer in front of our clients. And that requires changes because we live in a changing world. So it's not that we just wanna want to change for the sake of change. We need to adapt to the situation we see around us, and the world is changing fast pace, and we need to adapt to that. So what we trying to postulate and we're trying to promote also within the company is that we want people who are not afraid of changes, and we want people who are prepared to allow mistakes when they happen, because that is the consequence that comes with it. So we go into a terrain no one has ever been before for VIG Re, and we need to accept the fact that we make mistakes. And what we would like to foster is a situation that you can make mistakes and learn out of those mistakes. That's a very fundamental idea we trying to bring forward. Otherwise, you always are caught by your fear to make a change, and then you will not change. That's the reality, and that's a very natural human being reaction, I'd say. So to make it really happen, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and we're really trying to incorporate this in all the formats we have to really encourage our people to go and think in that direction.
Does it also mean to sometimes take a risk? Because you've already said that your business is oriented about risk, but sometimes you need to take risk with your ideas, with your business ideas.
Absolutely. It is connected with taking risks. Ideally calculated risks. That is what is at the very center of what we're doing. We're taking risks, but we calculate those risks. But yeah, it is in the small as much as in the big dimension that we take on risks.
And do you have any kind of example when you try to take a risk and that it led to really good outcome, basically, for everyone involved?
Well, there is. I give you an example, but let me say before I give you that, what we are aiming for is that we try to stimulate an environment in which our people challenge the status quo. So we do not want to have people who blindly follow rules, because a rule can be right or wrong in a certain situation, but there is other situations, and there is endless situation in today's world where you need to adapt the rule. So we would like to have a team who is open-eyed, view a situation with open eyes, and critically reflect on the rule, and not just blindly follow those rules. And that's what we mean a little bit with this agility and with an innovation culture, that I do not expect from everyone inventing a new product every day. For us, it is that we move those boundaries slightly, and we challenge the status quo each and every day in the small bits and pieces we are doing to make the next day slightly better than the day before was. That's the mentality. One example I can share with you is that we started a transformation program 2 years ago, slightly after I'm joined, to become more data and technologically driven as a reinsurer. We would like to become a digitally enabled reinsurance company, and digitally enabled means that we deal with today's technology and today's possibilities around data in a modern way. And that was a risk, certainly, because it's change connected, not only from a technological standpoint, but also from a mindset standpoint. We're still in that program, but I'm very, very happy on how this is going, and it's a great wave going through the organization by that.
I've already mentioned that you've taken up the role of the CEO quite recently, and now you are talking about the big digital and innovative changes. How difficult is basically to combine the drive for innovation with some kind of sense of stability for the people who are at this company maybe 10, maybe 15, maybe more years?
It's a balancing act, and we're very careful about it. We don't want to overdo it in terms of changes. So I think what is important to mention is there is also things we didn't change. Most importantly is the core values of the company. I mentioned that already. We have 3 values. We call them passion, partnership, performance. They drive our behavior. We're passionate about what we're doing towards our clients, but also for our business. The partnership aspect, that we are not a pure transactional company, we want to be a partner with our clients, and also the performance aspect, that we have a goal for which we're doing it. And this fundament of beliefs, I would even say, we didn't change. That is unchanged. Anything we do is more or less building on that. And my impression is that is well appreciated and also well understood, that we keep our DNA, but we build on that into today's reality.
We are in Prague, but the VIG Re in Prague is truly international company. It's not focusing only on Czech market, and it's definitely not only for Czech employees. You have so many nationalities. Is it, from your point of view, easier to have this common mindset when it is international team, or you think that it doesn't matter if it's only Czech team or only German team, or I don't know, only Polish team?
No, it does matter, and it's great. That's my short answer. So I think the diversity we display throughout the whole company, be it in nationality, be it in age, be it in gender, in all dimensions, basically. We are a truly diverse company, and we see that is enriching the whole culture. That requires a certain level of humility towards what you're doing, so that your ego is not always helpful, and you need to leave your ego at home to some extent. But all in all, I have to say this is a great enrichment for the whole company, and I hope that that everyone is feeling that across the whole organization.
We are in the Global Minds podcast, and so many of my guests are CEOs in the Czech company with basically most of the Czech employees. And sometimes they feel like an expat. For you, you probably don't feel like an expat at all, because VIG Re in Prague is truly international company. Or is there any aspect of your work or maybe life in Prague where you feel like an expat leader in Prague?
Funny enough, you're right. In the company, I do not feel like an expat. It's indeed true. But I do feel as an expat when it comes to my life in Prague, because I'm still not mastering the language to an extent I would like to. And then certainly if you have to communicate in English, that is the situation where I do feel more like an expat, because certainly I would love to speak Czech much better than I do, actually.
Let's go back to reinsurance business for a while. We've already did a written interview for Euro magazine in Czechia, where you mentioned that the reinsurance is invisible hand behind the insurance world. What do you mean by invisible hand? Is it like on purpose invisible, that you want to be invisible, or is it like more of a phrase?
Invisible, I mean, in a sense that the final customer, the final client, does not know us as a reinsurer. Because if you do, as an individual, as a person, or as a corporate, if you do your insurance, you deal with your insurer, and the brands which are known to people are insurance brands. We as a reinsurer are very often not known to that extent. We are not in the limelight, but we stand behind those risks very often, as I said, when it comes to natural catastrophes, for example. And that's what I mean with invisible hand, that we are on all those actions or all those situations you probably see in the news, but we're never really visible for the client as such.
Is it sometimes a little bit more difficult to feel the success when you are not seen, that everyone is thanking to another company for handling the major environmental crisis, and you are behind it, but no one knows your name?
I think we can well live with that, honestly speaking. We have a very good and trustful dialogue with all our clients, and if we get that appreciation, that is totally enough.
Is it sometimes a little bit, on the other hand, a little bit easier to be the leader in the invisible world, because you can focus on major changes and there is not a huge spotlight on you?
I believe it is, in parts at least. We see ourselves very much as a partner for insurance companies, and many of the situations we are involved in is not always ready to be displayed. So it's very much brainstorming, ideation, thinking about what could happen in case something happens. So it's a bit of an exploration of the risk landscape. And for this type of conversations and thinking, it's it's probably not bad not to be so visible, actually.
But still, could you give me at least one example of some situation where you stepped up and really changed a situation for a client in a tough spot?
I mean, what very recently happened was the floods here in CE, including Czechia. So the Boris flood, as we call it, and that was a major flood event for the region, and it certainly was a major event for us as well in our home territory, so to say. And there was certainly a big portion of that loss which we paid at the end of the day. And I believe the whole industry, including ourselves, we are more and more vocal when it comes to climate change, because we see that the climate is changing, and we see that different weather patterns are upcoming, which has direct consequences into loss situations we've never seen before, or we haven't seen before to that extent. And that is just one example of it. We've been very active. The whole team at VIG Re had been very active the moment after that happened, together with all our clients who had exposure in those countries. And I think that is a situation that very good describes on how a reinsurer, how VIG Re is reacting after something very, very severe happens. And allow me one more comment. Those events, those losses, is not easy to talk about, because it's a human tragedy very often. People losing their homes, people losing probably their lives very often. And it shouldn't overshadow. We buffering the financial impact of it. That's an important element, but there is always this human element into it as well. And that is very often something we need to be mindful about, that whenever we speak about those strategies, we have a human aspect into it, and the consequences, and we have a financial aspect. And we focus on buffering the financial impact on that in the most appropriate way.
Financial impact is on one hand. On the other hand, you've already mentioned innovation, digitalization, let's say moving the whole industry forward. Does it also mean that there is more and more responsibility of you as a reinsurer than was in the past?
That's hard for me to say, because the world was always changing, and risks were always elevating, and the world gets into a different set of risks, but it's always been a risky world. What is important for us is to have open eyes. We, as I said at the beginning, we want to be a partner for our clients, and we need to understand what is a risk that we as an industry need to cover, in a sense that we have an answer to that risk. And take digital transformation. With the involvement of AI, with the involvement of a digitized world, a digitized life almost, new risks are upcoming. They haven't been there 30 years ago. So we need, as an industry, we need to be innovative to have answers to cover those risks going forward, because that's not trivial. No one ever explored those type of risks. Another example is electronic vehicles, EVs. Over almost 100 years, cars have been ran by combustion engines. We have great loss patterns. We have great idea on how those portfolios develop. We have no idea how an EV really develops and what the loss patterns are around that. So we have to be innovative to understand the developments and to have a meaningful conversation with our clients. That's the challenge.
You're talking about partnership with the clients. How similar or different is it compared to, let's say, partnership approach with your employees, or what you are trying to do within your organization? Is it similar or is it different?
No, I think it's similar. Partnership stands as one of the values above all, and with that it holds true towards our clients, but it also holds true towards our employees. Towards our clients, we want to be a long-term partner. So whenever we engage into a relationship, we would like to have a good and deep understanding of who is the counterpart, what are they trying to achieve, that we can add real value as a as a reinsurer. The same holds true for our employees. So everyone who we employ, we want the people to stay as long as possible at VIG Re. So also here there is a long-term partnership approach, so to say. And we want people who enrich VIG Re, bring their own ideas and bring perspectives to us that enrich us as an organization. And we do not also here shoot for the short term.
Should I, as a customer, choose an insurance company that works with you?
Absolutely.
You've mentioned that you are leaders in your segment. Is it more difficult to become a leader or stay leader?
It is it is equally difficult, but you need different levers for both, I would say. To become a leader, you have to have a very forward-looking and capturing mindset, so to say. And you need to do that without falling into the trap to grow too fast. And that's a certain speciality. Staying ahead, it requires a different set of capabilities, I would say. So my assessment is equally difficult, but with different set of capabilities required.
One of my favorite questions with international expert is, where is home for you? I guess for you it would be still Bavaria, right?
Well, I would say my home is Europe.
Okay.
Yes, my family still lives in Bavaria. I'm living in Prague during the week. So those are certainly the two closest spots I am. But my role and my job is very travel heavy. So I'm traveling throughout Europe most of the time. I'm very often in Vienna as well, which is a beautiful city. So I have the pleasure to visit all the nice European big capital cities, so to say. So I would consider myself the home is Europe.
And my very last question, this podcast is called Global Minds. So do you have a global mind?
I would consider myself having a global mind, and that is something which is bothering me these days. If I read about global news and the developments on the global landscape, then is something I reflect upon. But taking the experience with the people within the company and the great interactions I have, and we have a global and diverse workforce, as you said, I would say, yeah, I would consider myself as one.
Says Tobias Sonndorfer, the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer at VIG Re. Thank you very much.
Thank you.